my comfrey plants out beneath our apple trees. First, let's go see the baby chicks in here. They're growing and strong and looking really good. For those of you who don't remember, these are just whatever our chickens laid. They're mostly black Australorp because that's what most of our chickens are and probably our most aggressive male fertilizer. So they're black Australorps. They could be a cross. And then our guinea keats. And our guinea keats are looking really good. Their color is coming in and it looks like they're going to be a lavender color. And they're really pretty. They're a little smaller than the chickens. So the light colored one is probably a silver lace Wyandotte or a silver lace Wyandotte cross. All right, time to plant comfrey plants. So here's the comfrey plants in pots, and I got these from Marsh Creek Farmstead, and they sent me root cuttings. Some of the pieces of root cuttings were about as small as an inch long, and yet I think all of them grew. What I wanted to show you here is, here are the comfrey plants in pots, and here are the comfrey plants that I planted out just about 2 weeks ago. Happy, sad. I got to duck under this hot wire here because Dolly's out in her yard. Dolly, our cow, we're grazing in our yard for better grass. Right down there. The reason I put those comfrey plants in the garden is because I have a vision of having hundreds of comfrey plants just scattered all over this place, filling in any empty corner, along the fence, around the edges of the pasture, possibly even in the pasture, to provide a really good protein-rich forage for our goats and for our cow. I'm not going to buy all those root cuttings. I'm going to grow them myself. So next year we'll pull all of those plants out of the garden. We'll divide them either by root cuttings or breaking the crowns apart. It'll be way easier to dig those comfrey plants out of that rich garden soil there, that's soft and workable, rather than, say, digging them out from under a tree or in the tree roots. Here's a little apple tree, and we're going to plant a comfrey plant, maybe 2, beneath each of these apple trees in our little orchard here. Hey Dolly, are you coming up to visit? The cow is meeting the puppy, and the puppy's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Not under the porch. Oh.
The little puppy's like, I think I'm gonna go. I think I'll just retreat. I think I'm outmatched here. Come on out, buddy.
Why don't you guys let them off their... Oh,
come on out. She's like, what is this
little...
little black creature? What do you think about that? Puppy dogs? Oh, she's wrinkling her nose. You're hilarious, Dolly. Oreo's already met Dolly, and they got along fine. They just sniffed each other and walked away. Oreo is extremely chill when it comes to being around large animals. He doesn't bark, he doesn't chase, he just hangs out. To many of y'all this will be old news, but some of you will have never heard this. The reason we're planting comfrey plants under our apple trees is because comfrey plants send down deep, deep roots. And they actually have roots deeper than apple trees, I think. Apple trees, a lot of their feeder roots are up high. They don't have a real deep root system. But comfrey plants have an incredibly deep root system, and they specialize in pulling up deep, especially mineral nutrients, and bringing them up into their leaves. So you actually can chop off the top of a comfrey plant several times a year and use it to mulch around your plants, adding mineral to the topsoil where it's available to your tree or your other plants. So I've got some planted beneath the apple trees. So I'm gonna put 1 or 2 in this fun, messy little herb garden here. think that's enough comfrey planting for now. This is really just evening entertainment for me. I've got a couple more to put out, but I'll do it another evening. It's fun. Before I run out of light, I want to show you a couple more things that I think you'll really like to see. First of all, this area down here, we heavily mulched with hay. And right now there's raspberries and then a bunch of sunflowers all over the raspberries. And those raspberries look pretty good. I've kept the closest sunflowers pulled out. They look good for having just been put in the ground. I love some of the ideas in permaculture. One of them is you observe what's already happening. A lot of trees, and the land slopes downhill here. So as the fall and winter winds blow, they actually blow all the leaves down here, and they accumulated in a little low spot. And that's why the soil was so rich. It's actually the best soil on the property when we moved in, and it was actually better than the garden soil. So we're following the same model, which is piling organic matter to increase soil productivity. Speaking of, Brianna cleaned out the barn today. Here is the other thing I wanted to show you. On the lower side of the big barn down here is this grapevine. This year, the grapevines are covered with grapes. These grapevines were completely overgrown when we got here, totally covering the side of the barn. They hadn't been pruned for years. I pruned them back heavily, a little more than a year ago. And I expected, oh wow, I pruned them so we'll have a great harvest. Last year, after I pruned them, we got about 3 grapes. Literally, we got 3 grapes, and they were really good, but we only got 3. But look, this year, these grapevines are covered with beautiful large grapes. Here's some here, and they're just all up here. There's just hundreds and hundreds of grapes. And my theory is that the plant was not accustomed to being pruned, and it was a pretty dramatic pruning I did. And so I think the plant kind of had to recover from my pruning. Now it's in full production mode. I was gonna show you one more thing, and it was in relation to pruning and production. We'll cut right through the garden here again, under the hot wire. When we moved to this place, I quickly noticed a little apple tree. So here's the apple tree. So right when we moved here, there were apples in the tree. They were very, very small. The tree's tall and scraggly. It's not been pruned. So I thought, it's just like a wild apple or a crab apple, and you see them around. But I decided, you know what? I'm gonna prune this tree. I'm just gonna see what happens. So again, about a year and a few months ago, in the middle of last winter, I pruned this tree, thinking, oh, I'll get a great, crop of apples if I ever will. And then last summer, didn't get any apples. I thought, oh well, crab apple tree. Now I don't know if this is a crab apple or not, but look at these apples. These are way bigger than last year. And look at this branch up here. It's totally loaded down. It's actually bending over, covered with apples. So the same thing that happened to the grapevines happened to the apple tree. I pruned it really heavily. I expected that would produce a great harvest. And then the first year it didn't. But now the second year, it's looking like it just might. Now, I don't want to count my apples and my grapes before they ripen, but I am conservatively optimistic that we might pick some apples on there that are at least worth making cider out of, if not worth eating as a real nice tart apple. And I'm really hoping to get some grapes. I love it in the evening up here. Mornings and evenings are probably my favorite time of day. It's always just so beautiful. Well, that was another great day on the homestead. And I hope you're not getting tired of seeing this cow. She's actually become quite a feature in our lives. I think she likes us just as much as we like her. Dolly! Dolly, Dolly, Dolly.